Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Snowmass Chapel. Everybody ready? Before I forget, can anybody who's got their phone and is like me and forgot to turn it off or turn it down, please do that. I'd like to start out by thanking Kai and Bob Beasley for putting this on. It's a beautiful space, and I know how hard you worked. I'd also like to thank Scott and Nell for the slideshow and the music that we're going to see at the reception. Most of all, I want to thank Juan Carlos and Judy, Cookie, for coming so far and overcoming so much adversity to get here, which I happen to be experiencing real time. In case you haven't met me, my name's Doug Unfug, and I'm honored and privileged to be among this group of amazing people and to celebrate and commemorate the life, love, and loss of our dear friend Judy. I'm also probably going to be the first person to stand up here and cry in front of all of you, so get ready for that. In, I think, 1992 was when I first met Judy, and I was helping out with her catering on doing Christmas parties up on Red Mountain, and I think Chris Elise had introduced us. Many miles have passed since then, many roads we've traveled by car and by foot, both in Spain and here in Aspen. I look forward to sharing my memories with all of you at the reception, but I'm not going to get in the way of these great people that are going to come up and tell their story. So with that, I'm finished, and we're going to have Taylor come up and play one of Judy's favorite songs by the Grateful Dead, Ripple.
If anyone knows this song, feel free to sing along at any point. Harmony, melody, scream, who cares? If my words did glow with all of sunshine, and my tunes were played on a harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own to hand me down? The thoughts are broken, perhaps they're better left unsung. Well, I don't know, and don't really care. Let there be songs to fill the air. Ripple and still water, when there is no pebble toss, nor wind to blow. Reach out your more steps alone. Red Bull in still water. And there is no bell toss, nor wind to blow. Reach out your hand, and you must follow. But if you fall, you won't fall alone. And if you should stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home. If I knew the way, we would take you home. Yeah, if I knew the way, Judy, we would take you home. La da dee da. Come on, we all know this. La da dee da. Da 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 dee da.
Hola a todos. Well, I'm Cookie. I am the Spanish girlfriend from Judy, okay? Well, dear Judy, my always dear Judy, this is the first time I am speaking. Oh, he olvidado las gafas. Sorry. Hasta. Ahora. Okay. This is the first time I am speaking in public to dedicate a few words to someone, and I have to do it in English. Well, I'll try to do my best. After completing my university studies in Spain and France, I wanted to learn English. So with that goal in mind, I arrived in Aspen in February 1989 to work as a babysitter for the Duttweiler family, who used to live right here in Snowmass, just right there. At that time, I didn't speak any English. So the Duttweilers asked Nell to come with them to pick me up at the airport and help translate. Nell was holding her newborn baby, Emily, in her arms. Very quickly, Nell shared the news with Judy. A Spanish girl has just arrived, and she doesn't speak English. This was great news for Judy, who always loved to surround herself with Spanish speakers. 2 days later, Judy called me. To be honest, I barely understood anything she said, or even who she was, only that she was coming to pick me up to take me to a party at her house, of course, with her Argentine friends. At that same day, our friendship began. everything felt so easy. She was always making plans. Let's go skiing, okay? Let's go biking, okay? Cookie, let's buy rollerblades and go up to Maroon Bells. Okay, let's walk to Woody Creek. There is a race up Aspen Mountain, let's do it. Okay. I didn't even know where she was taking me half of the time. We were just going up and down these beautiful mountains. I was easy. I always said yes. I enjoyed it as much as she did, or maybe even more. When we went biking, sometimes we were three, because Patsy Tish joined us, and she was also a great athlete. That's how my relationship with the Tish family began. Through those moments, we built a beautiful connection, and later, Patsy invited me to live with her family and take care of her children. Thank you, Patsy. This way, my friendship with Judy was built between sport, laughter, and the kitchen of the Tish family, where we spent so many hours. By that time, Judy was a highly respected and much-loved chef, whose guests, many of them very distinguished, would always speak with admiration of her extraordinary meals. And I was just an extraordinary nanny. With such an adventurous and passionate friend by my side, I started to tell her, you should go to Spain. You should walk the Camino de Santiago. I knew she would love it. I was sure. At that time, there were hardly any pilgrims, neither Spanish or international. But being from Jaca, a small town in the Pyrenees, where the Camino passes, a place that has welcomed pilgrims for more than 1,000 years. In fact, a cathedral began to be built there in 1063. The idea of the Camino had always attracted me. I felt like the perfect combination of sport, history, and spirituality. And since I was not ready to live that dream myself, I wanted Judy to live it for me. I returned home at the end of the 90s, and our friendship continued through letters. I kept insisting, you have to walk the Camino. Finally, in May 1984, Judy arrived in Jaca. This is where she took her first step on an 800-kilometer journey. 2 days before she left, she planted a pine tree on my parents' land, and then she set off. What she didn't know then was that those first steps would lead her to a completely new life. Just a few days later, she met Juan Carlos, the man she fell in love with, and with whom she would walk not just one path, but thousands of kilometers across so many caminos around the world. With her business sense, her exceptional intelligence and vision, her love of travel, her desire to be with Juan Carlos, Judy founded one of the very first companies to bring pilgrims to the Camino, Spanish Steps, and she was very successful. And it was long before the internet. Today, it's hard for us to even imagine how she did it, but she did. Whenever we spoke on the phone, she would always say, Cookie, you are to blame for my lifestyle. And then 10 years ago, she did the same to me. She invited me to work with her in Spanish Steps from Spain. So now I can say, Judy, now you are to blame for my lifestyle too. For the past 10 years, my daily life has been your beloved Spanish Steps, your team, and your pilgrims. Every single day, you are present in my life and in my heart. And in the pine tree you planted more than 30 years ago, now grown strong and beautiful. At the base, part of you is resting in peace. And today, in front of your friends, I want to thank you for being my friend, for being an example to me, and for giving me the joy and the pride to call you my friend Judy, mi amiga Judy. Today, your body is not here, but you are. You are in every path, in every step, in every pilgrim who walks the Camino. You are in all of us. And as long as there is someone walking, as long as there is someone dreaming, as long as there is someone beginning their journey, you will still be there. I love you, Judy. Buen camino, always.
Kuki did a great job, and I want to thank Kuki and Juan Carlos for making the long trip here. They really did have quite the journey. And I want to thank all of you guys for being here to celebrate and honor our sweet Judy Blue Eyes. I also want to thank Kai and Bob for helping to organize this beautiful event, and everybody that helped them, like the Brooms with the photos and the music, and Jill and Shelley did these beautiful flowers. Just gorgeous. I also want to make a personal thank you to Cynthia. Cynthia Haynes is Judy's good friend, and I don't see Cynthia. Are you here, Cynthia? There you are. Cynthia is her good friend and her bookkeeper. And she has helped me tremendously to get through working out Judy's affairs. So I just wanted to, I think I might be the only person here that knew Judy before she came to Colorado. So I thought I might just give a little background. Judy and I both grew up on the North Shore of Long Island in two different towns about 10 miles apart, but there were 4 or 5 towns in between. And we didn't go to grammar school together. We went to different grammar schools, but we came together in those days for junior high and high school. So we didn't meet each other till we were about 7th grade. And we were not actually really good friends until we both lived in Colorado. But we were part of the same pack. So we came together, and we just turned into this whole pack of kids. And we were unsupervised. I guess that's the best way to put it. I sometimes think back and I'm like, where were the parents? I mean, the way our kids, we were driving them everywhere. Parents didn't drive us. The way we got around was mostly hitchhiking. And also people would take, the older kids. We all had siblings, and the older kids would drive us places. And I'm not saying I'm proud of all the things we did. It was crazy times, but we sure had a lot of fun. It was the early 70s, and we were kind of crazy kids, and we did a lot of crazy things. And I met Judy during that whole time. And, she was, we all did a lot of stuff together, and she liked to be the driver. So she often was the driver. And she also was kind of a leader then, because I remember her taking groups of us on the train into the city. Somehow Judy knew New York City better than we did. She would take us in, and she'd take us to the garment district in Chinatown and show us around, looking for good stuff to buy and good food. And she also was very creative. I remember that she would make stuff. She would make those cool, wrap skirts out of old jeans and embroidery shirts, and let her in style again now. Judy was, the gals, some of the gals from that whole pack of friends are still my friends. Judy knew them. And last time I was with them, we were reminiscing and about Judy, and they told me about a story. I don't think I was there, but I thought it was just classic Judy, because Judy was driving and there were 8 people in a station wagon. You know, no seatbelts, of course. And they were going to the drive-in movie theater, and by the time they got to the ticket window, it was just Judy. And there were all these, you know, jackets and blankets in the back of the car. And Judy just drives up and says, "Ticket for one, please." And somehow they all got in. So that was classic Judy, if you ask me. But what I remember most about Judy was her work ethic. I mean, the day that we got you could get your working papers, I think it was age 15, Judy got a job at the local McDonald's, which was a new thing at that time. And by the time she finished, she worked all the time. We all had jobs, but she worked all through school. School wasn't her thing, okay, I can tell you that much. Judy was not a great student. She's always been a lifelong learner. I realize that about her now. But sitting in a classroom trying to pay attention she didn't have the patience for that. So she worked a lot, and by the time she left high school, she was running that McDonald's, and she had people working for her that were like 40 years old. That was Judy, yeah. She was the responsible one. She was working, and I think she saw working as her ticket out, because she wanted out. Too many people, too many walls. She wanted to head out west. So she worked hard at school enough to graduate a year early and left, and I believe she came out here. I don't know exactly, kind of lost track of her for a year or two. She didn't come here, she came to Colorado. She moved here a little bit later to the Valley. Anyway, 2 years later, I graduated high school, and my parents moved to Colorado, to Golden, which I didn't really like. But I came out here to visit them a few times, and I came and saw Judy. And my junior year of college, I studied abroad in Spain. I studied in Universidad de Salamanca for a year, and Judy came to visit me in spring of that year, and she was ready to travel. I would say this was the beginning of her big travel journey. This was 1979-80, and she got her backpack and her Eurail pass and her traveler's checks, and she was raring to go. She came to Europe, and she traveled around, and she was on her own, and she came to visit me, and she stayed with me for a few weeks. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of little trips. We took the train down to Lisbon and hitchhiked down to the Algarve, the whole coast of Portugal. She still tells that story. It was quite the adventure. And she just fell in love with Spain and Europe, and she wanted to live there, which is a dream that she did realize much later. So she went on and did her travels, and a year or so later, when I was finishing college, I drove out to Colorado with a friend of mine, and we were coming to visit my parents, and we were looking for somewhere to work for the summer, and she said, "Oh, come up here and visit me. You're so close." Well, that was May of '81, and I came, and I fell in love. And so it was just so beautiful. You know, everything was green, and the white-capped peaks, and it was just spectacular. And I fell in love with Judy's world, and more ways than one. And I've been here ever since, except that I went and did my student teaching. That was it. But so Judy and I tell you that because Judy and I kind of blame each other for, for her falling in love with coming to Europe and traveling in Spain. And I know, 10 years later, she went on the Camino, but she did a lot of traveling in between those years. And she was very into it. And so it was just, Judy was always an entrepreneur. I really admired her for that. That was a word that Kooky wanted to use, but she couldn't pronounce it. She was having trouble saying it. But she had that spirit of, she just had this go-getter spirit. And she always, she was always amazed me how she made things happen for herself. I took a much more traditional route, going to college and getting a job, and she worked her butt off, her whole life, since she was working at McDonald's. So Judy I know she loved her work a lot of the time, but I really do wish that she had gotten to enjoy the fruits of her labor a little bit more, but she did. She worked her whole life. Everything she had, she worked and got it on her own, with Juan Carlos, of course, later on. But, you know, it was funny because I found this little article in Judy's Things. It was just a little one paragraph of a magazine. She cut out, you know, grabbed it out of a magazine. I have no idea what the magazine was, but it was inside one of her journals, and it just had this one little paragraph that I just thought she was such a visionary. She saw things that nobody else imagined. She said that, I mean, she did her thing here. She was good at cooking. Everybody liked her food. So she ended up going to culinary school and starting Lucia's Catering, which she did great at that. That was really great. And then when she went to Spain years later, and she and Juan Carlos went on the Camino, and she decided to make a business out of it. And it wasn't just your average business. It was very unique the way they did it. And then, you know, much later, she took us to this beautiful spot that this property. She said, "We've just brought this property up in northern Spain." And we went up to visit it, and it was this, she said, we just bought this property. I mean, there was a donkey and an old mill house, and there were like wooden shoes because it was really, as a rainy area, beautiful area. And she said, we just bought this, we're gonna build a hotel here. And, you know, she not only had the foresight and the vision, but she also did the hard work to make things happen. And I'm so proud of her for that. I found this little article, which kind of was, you know, indicative of her foresight. It says, "Travel of the future will become more enriching too, because of the style of traveling. How you get somewhere and explore that area are not necessarily the keys to a successful trip. The final answer is what you bring back within, what you have absorbed, learned, and understood. Sometimes technological tricks can do a lot, but never the critical part. Lasting, interesting, and satisfying forms of travel will not be routine, faddish, or mass-dominated. Rather, they will be close to nature, highly educational, and most of all, challenging. Creature comforts will always be secondary to the satisfaction of having been somewhere and having learned something important about the world in which we live." And I thought, you know, Judy was already thinking like that. This was from like 1980 or 81, because it was in a box of all things. So and Judy, when she started that company, she was pretty much the main guide. And she just did it differently than anybody else. She used her cooking skills, and she cooked lunch for everybody, her pilgrims. And I remember doing a trip where we walked down a hill, and it was lunchtime, we were getting hungry, it was a small group, we're looking at the ice, I think that's Judy's van right there. Well, you come down to the bottom of the hill, and there's this huge stone table with stone benches. Judy's got one of her beautiful tablecloths spread across it, bottle of wine, fresh bread, and she's over there in her camper, in her van, using camp stoves to cook this beautiful lunch for us. And it was like, not only that, but there were 2 or 3 people already seated at the table. And Judy's motto was, always talk to strangers. And these were people that saw her doing what she was doing and decided, you know, either she struck up a conversation with them or they did with her, and she invited them to have lunch with us. And so we made friends that we ended up walking with for the next few days. And you know, that was just Judy. That was just her signature way she had her own unique, singular way of doing things. And that brings me to a poem that I'm going to read you. And I just think it speaks to Judy's, the way she made her own path all of her life. Caminante no hay camino. It's written by Antonio Machado, a famous Spanish poet that all students in Spain learn this in school. I did, myself included. And I'm going to read it to you in Spanish. It's just a piece of it. It's a longer poem, and then I'll translate it for you. Caminante son tus huellas, el camino y nada más. Caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Al andar se hace el camino, Y al volver la vista atrás, se ve la senda que nunca se ha de volver a pisar. Caminante no hay camino, sino estelas en la mar. And while I think it's prettier in Spanish, this is the translation. Traveler, there is no road. Traveler, your footprints are the only road, nothing else. Traveler, there is no road. You make your own path as you walk. As you walk, you make your own road. And when you look back, you see the path you will never travel again. Traveler, there is no road, only a ship's wake on the sea. And I think that speaks to the lessons that Judy taught me, which was to make your own road and live your life by your own lights, and don't worry about anybody else's path, do it your own way. And Judy was modeled that for us. And I know Judy had friends all over the world. She was really, like somebody said today, like the hub of the wheel. She knew all these people. I don't know all of them. I don't know half of them. But Judy was just like on that table on the side of the road. Her superpower was connecting people. And she did it later on through social media, and that was just the way she was, and she was so real with everybody. And I just feel honored that I was one of her good friends and her sister, because we were like sisters. And I want to tell you that Juan Carlos and I are putting a commemorative bench, down on the Crystal River. And Cookie showed you a picture of they split the ashes, and a third of them are underneath that tree in Jaca, in the Pyrenees by Cookie's family. The other is on the Camino, the other third, and then 1/3 of them we are going to spread down by the Crystal River where we're putting this bench. And it won't be there until the end of April, but it's going to be really nice, and it's got this great view of Mount Sopris, and it's just right by where her house is. So I want to invite you to come down in a few weeks and check that out. And one of Judy's favorite people, the late, great Bob Weir, I'm going to finish with that, who followed her to the afterlife just a few months later in January. He said that he viewed death not so much as an end, but as a liberation. He saw it as the last and best reward for a life well lived. Well, Judy's was a life well lived. So here's to you, Judy. We love and we miss you. Buen camino. Thank you.
Well, I know you're right, you're gonna miss Wow. This is beautiful. Because I need to do this, why don't we all take a deep breath? Ready? Whew. This is kind of ironic in a way because I'm a preacher's kid, and it feels really strange to be behind the pulpit. Thanks, Dad. So, my name is Lorraine Miller, and I tell my clients when they don't remember my name, just call me Quiche Beer. It's taking a minute. And Judy would just groan whenever I would do a pun. And then I would get this, oh, Lorraine. Okay, so my name is Lorraine Miller. I am so honored and happy and sad to be talking to you today about our dear Judy. So one day, late 90s, I get this phone call. And it says, the person on the other end says, you don't know me, and I don't know you. But everybody thinks we do. So come over for dinner. Come over for supper. And little did I know now, that when Judy invites you for supper, food, whatever, you go because she was an amazing chef. So I went over there, and she talked about this company called, Spanish Steps and Roman Roads, I think it was called back then. And she talked about this Camino de Santiago. I'm like, And throughout the evening, we had a nice talk, and she realized I spoke Spanish, and she says, hey, why don't you come work for me? I went, don't you think I should walk it? Oh, yeah, walk it. And I walked it, and then 2 days later, I was guiding for her. And I think that was in 1999. That's when our journey started. So I'm here, yes, to talk about how we met and how we are all connected, and many of you I know through Judy. But what I want to leave you, start with, is her legacy. So think for a second, what is Judy's legacy? And you heard it from many of the speakers up here. Courage, serendipity, adventure, food, walking, just kind of winging it, loading up in the van. That's my favorite memory is, come on, whenever Judy says, come on, let's go, you say yes. Right, Cookie? Yeah. And usually when you get in the car or the van, what's on? The Grateful Dead. And who's singing? Judy. So think about her legacy however you wish, but what Judy wants us to do is to live out her legacy. And what is that legacy? Depends on your relationship with her. It depends on how she affected your life. For me, it's, I've been thinking about this. Live the way Judy lived. Live out her legacy. Just go. Invent. It's okay to get lost. You're always going to be found. So when I started guiding for her, my favorite lesson for the clients was, you don't know who you are until you leave your country, until you leave your home. The idea of you can't see the forest for the trees. So what Judy did, she showed everybody the trees. They can step out of their comfort zone, walk, while they're walking through the forest, right? They really figure out who they are, because you don't know who you are until you leave your home. And so Judy showed thousands of clients this, and of course, all of us. The other expression I would tell the clients as a guide for Judy was, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. So let the journey be your destination. And I think that message was from Judy as well, although she was just like, come on, let's get there. But it was all about the journey. So I am also here to represent the guides, although, Judy and I became sisters. And recently, that's what she would call me, as her sister. And at first it kind of surprised me, but it was just like, yeah, kind of like all of us. We're her sisters and brothers. Where was I going? Huh? What? Oh, thank you. Sorry, guides. So the guides have been texting me and going, please, please let everybody know how much Judy affected our lives. And she hired many, many of us along the way, and we have enjoyed every step of guiding with Judy. My words for Judy are serendipity, courage, adventure, and singing the Grateful Dead. I want us to take one more breath. Inhale, exhale, and Judy. Let the journey be your destination. And Judy she's happy. She's okay. She's free from pain. And her journey was amazing. And it still is going to live in all of us. So live out her legacy. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Andy Carmichael Broom. My kids, Molly and Taylor, are here today, and they will tell you I'm a thank you note queen. No gift, good deed, or host goes without a thank you note. Handwritten, in an envelope, via the U.S. mail. This is a thank you note to Judy that I'll never send. Dear Judy, I remember when Catalina and I first met you at a party in the mid-'80s here in Snowmass. You were the caterer. We were the ski pros for a group of fancy guests. Kat and I were gossiping in Spanish about some of the people there, thinking no one understood us. Then we saw Judy cracking up. Turns out her Spanish was perfect, and Kat and I were busted. The next thing you know, the three of us were laughing so hard, and a friendship was born. Thank you, Judy, for being a delightful, bold woman with a hearty laugh and no fear of calling out a stranger. Over the next 40 years, it was skiing, hiking, biking, and food, really good food, the best dinner parties ever. You taught me that the shared experience of great meals and the fellowship that comes with them makes the world go round. And you taught me to be purposeful in making a good meal, because you believe good food warms the soul and makes the fellowship a life experience. I still make the chicken marbella you taught me about. Who would have ever thought prunes and olives go with chicken? You did. 40 years later, I make that dish often, and I always think of you when I make it. Thank you. Same goes for the simple art of caramelizing onions. You've stood there teaching me to caramelize. Stir, stir, slow, keep going, takes 10 minutes. I'm not real patient. A flood of memories takes over. Thank you for these simple memories that live with me almost daily. You didn't pretend about anything. Status possessions like a car or the latest style meant nothing to you. I remember in 1991 when you bought a brand new Toyota 4Runner. I think the dealer plates were still on it, but you insisted loaning it to me to go to Denver to pick up the supplies for my wedding that spring. Who does that? A brand new car? I'm not the world's best driver either, so I've been told. But you said, go ahead, it's just a car. Classic Judy. You drove that same car 17 years later to teach my daughter Molly how to drive a stick shift. Molly said, Mom, when Judy sells that car, I'm buying it from her. The problem is she kept that car another 15 years. Turns out old souls and old cars go together. Thank you for being that old soul. Later, you invited my kids to Spain to work at your hotel that you and Juan Carlos built. ¿Sabes qué quiero decirte? As teens, they soaked up the lessons about independence, curiosity, hard work, and the art of hospitality. And how to chop garlic purposely, Taylor says. Thank you for being their teacher. While your business was flourishing in Spain, you begged Scott and me to come hike the Camino. We were kind of busy raising kids at the time, but we finally committed and even had a planning party at Kai and Bob's house, where you laid out a big, giant laminated map of Spain and blew us away with your organization and knowledge. That was right before COVID hit. The trip got derailed. We rescheduled for 2023. That's the year you got sick. We were all stunned, heartbroken, and hopeful. But even with the hopeful vibes, we figured the trip was off. Your response literally was, the show must go on. I have the best guides. They'll take care of you. You will all come to Spain. It was full force Judy. 25 of us made that trip. Several are in here. We understand that for you, cancer was simply not a good excuse for cancellation. But we also understood that you would not be coming on the road with us. After all, only 6 weeks earlier, you had an extremely hard surgery called Whipple. We kept our expectations in check. We were wrong. You showed up 2 nights later on our trip with Juan Carlos, unannounced, to a rural hotel that you and Juan Carlos booked for us. A joyous dinner was served under ancient timbers in a historic inn. There were lots of tears that night and lots of marveling at your resilience with your brushed off look as it's just another damn thing. Thank you for your toughness and your courage. That surgery gave you 2 more years where you continued to work, travel, deal with treatments, and stay in touch with your large groups of friends. You stayed positive, although you were also a realist. You weren't lying to yourself or anyone else. This is the most important. You made it clear you were not a victim. This was life, and you were going to live it as much as you got. You surrounded yourself with good friends. I am lucky enough to say you were one of my best friends. Thank you, Judy, for letting me be one of those people. P.S. Remember how you and Kai and I decided we were going to be roommates in the nursing home when we got old and raise hell? Kai and I are going to really miss you, Judy. But we're going to raise hell at the nursing home without you because you're already in heaven. Thank you.
sitting in the railway station, got a ticket for my destination. On a tour of one-night stands, suitcase and guitar in hand. Every stop is neatly planned for a poet and a one-man band. Homeward bound, wish I would. Homeward bound, home where my thoughts are escaping, home where my music's playing, home where my love lies waiting silently for me. Every day is an endless stream of cigarettes and magazines. And each town looks the same to me, the movies and the factories. And every stranger's face I see reminds me that I'll always be homeward bound. Wish I would. Homeward bound, home where my thoughts are escaping, home where my music's playing, home where my love lies waiting silently for me. But tonight I'll sing my songs again, I'll play the game, try to pretend. All my words come back to me, shades of mediocrity, like emptiness and harmony. I need someone to comfort me. Homeward bound, wish I was. Homeward bound, home where my thoughts are escaping, home where my music's playing, home where my love lies waiting silently for me. Silently for me.
Hi, my name is Catalina Cruz, and Andy and I met Judy, as she said, in the early 80s while we were teaching skiing in Snowmass, and she was cooking for some rich folks, and she understood everything we said when we were making fun of another person over there. Anyway, that's how it all started. But, everybody has spoken about different things, but I just want to say what I think of when I think of Judy. And first of all, I think of gratitude. I am so grateful that we met, truly, by accident. And we remained close for over 40 years. That's pretty special in this town. She always made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Always listened to everything you said. She always had interesting comments to add. She never stopped talking, and she talked really fast. And she thought really quickly, and her mind was just amazing. She just never stopped thinking and adding to the conversation and making everything interesting, always interesting with her. It was never a boring conversation. The other thing I think of when I think of Judy is generosity. She was one of the most generous people with her time, her assets, her food, her conversations. She gave so much to so many, and she still continues giving to all of us in so many ways. The other thing I think of is fun. With Judy, I always had fun. When I first met her, she was biking. She was biking in France by herself, all around the Riviera. She was so brave. I was so amazed that she would do these bike trips alone, and was never afraid, you know. I would have been terrified. And, you know, she'd camp and, you know, just, she ran into Paul Anderson on one of those trips, and they rode a little while, and then Paul disappeared, and I said to her, well, didn't you worry about Paul, where Paul went? Or wasn't he worried about you? And she said, no. It's like, okay, I would have been worried. But anyway, she was always fun to do stuff with, and I remember in the beginning she used to bike ride a lot, and then, you know, she started walking a lot, and she would tell me, go to Crested Butte, hike to Crested Butte, and when you get there, first, before you get there, call Ramon, because Ramon will pick you up in the van at the end of the Crested Butte hike, and this is his phone number, and he's going to give you beer. And she would always like embellish, and she was right. I would make the phone call to Ramon. He would be waiting there between 3 and 4 o'clock with a beer. It was awesome. You know, she always had great suggestions. And the other thing I think about Judy is just how athletic she was. And she was such a good downhill skier. And right before she got sick, Andy and Kai and I went to Beaver Creek with her. Andy gave us some tickets because she teaches in that V starting resort, you know, that's owned by Vail. Anyway, so we went to Beaver Creek, and Judy and I were like looking for all the bumps. There's not a lot of bumps in Beaver Creek, but she was doing so well and skiing so well that day, and we all had a great lunch. And then a week later, she flies back to Spain, and she has pancreatic cancer. And the diagnosis came a week later after having such a great time. And we were all so shocked. But she had her surgery, and she came back here, and she was cross-country skiing, and every time she was here in the winter, when she wasn't working incessantly in front of her computer, which she always did, she would go cross-country skiing with me. And we would go on the golf course. And when I go now on the golf course, I feel her. I feel her spirit with me. I remember the last time I went, Juan Carlos was flying. Estaba volando ese día, cuando estábamos esquiando, okay, in Aspen. He was leaving Aspen. He always has trouble flying in and out of here. And there was a problem in the airport in Denver, and Judy was on the cross-country trail texting Juan Carlos and talking to Juan Carlos about which flight he could take and how it was delayed. And, you know, I mean, every time I cross-country ski, I feel her spirit with me. And I could only go twice this year because there was no snow, but I felt her. The last time I felt her in the same spot where she was texting Juan Carlos. She was there. I just feel her spirit there. It's strange. So she could outpace almost everybody in stimulating conversations, that's for sure. She never had a loss for words. Her mind was so fast. The other thing I think about is her adventurous spirit. You know, she always went so many places, and you never knew where she'd been until you mentioned something, and she would say, oh yeah, I've been there, and she would tell you where to go and or, you know, what to see, and it was just amazing. She'd been to so many places, especially after she got sick. She kept traveling, she kept doing things. I think she did the Mont Blanc hike after she got sick and had the Whipple surgery. I mean, who does that? You know, it's incredible. She was always exploring, always learning. That's something that, you know, most of us have stopped doing by our age. The other thing she was a great business person. She was such a hard worker, as many of you have already said. While here, she spent countless hours on the computer and expanding her business, talking to her clients. I remember when she started her business, she told me she was, you know, writing letters to newspapers and trying to get people to do her tour because there was no internet, there was nothing that you could, you know, actually get the word out. And somebody from, I think, the LA Times saw something that Judy had written and went on one of her tours. Maybe I'm getting this wrong. Am I getting it right? I think that's right. Anyway, she went on, this woman from the LA Times went on the tour, and that's how it expanded. It blew up, and it was the first, you know, tour of the Camino, you know, that people had done. I mean, people have been doing it for thousands of years, but it hadn't been commercialized or expanded like Judy did. It was amazing what a good business person she was and what a great eye she had for expanding and for, just even while she was sick, she would go to Italy and expand the Roman roads thing, and she wanted to go to other towns, and she just kept learning and becoming a deeper person, That's just amazing. But the thing I think of the most about Judy is that she was a true friend. She was so many things, but most of all, she was a true dear friend to so many of you. To everyone. Everybody thought that she was their best friend, because she made you feel that way. You could always depend on her. She would always share a beautiful story. Even just before she went back to Spain, I saw her about a week before. She was pretty sick, but she walked to the river. She showed me. I think I know where the bench is going to be because we were sitting right there. And, she seemed pretty energetic, even though she kept saying she was so tired. She went up the hill way faster than I could. So I was always thinking she would make it, So I just want to thank Judy for her friendship and for bringing all these people together and all around the world. It's amazing how many people she has brought together around the world, and I know that they're hopefully going to watch this and, recognize her beauty and her friendship and everything else that she meant to everybody, and we want to thank you for that.
Hello. God. Finally, I am Juan Carlos.
Yo soy Juan Carlos.
Sorry, my English is very poor. My sentence prefer is, my English is very poor.
Lo siento, mi inglés está muy mal.
English is very, very poor.
I need two women for translating. Okay.
We were translating.
Translating, yes. Sorry. The first is I need to give thank you for every people, no? Every people?
Todo el mundo, everyone.
Everyone, sorry. It's the more important. Thank you because you are here with Judy. Maybe I speak long time. My Nell, 10 minutes. He's saying me, only five. Okay, no problem. Cookie the same. Cookie, Juan Carlos say, I speak only 6 minutes. 12. Okay? Okay. I have trick. Reading, eh? Yeah, it's different, okay. Dicho esto, cuando he dicho esto, como, okay, continue, please, because no, I continued in English, sorry. It's thank you, maybe I speak the Judy 30 years together. I have too much stories. But only remember my life with Judy is the camino. I think the life is un camino, when en francés, the camino, in English. ¿En inglés? Okay. The life is un camino. This is the metaphor. I don't know what is metaphor. Metaphor. But many people in the world. But when I know Judy, I walk with Judy, after maybe 10 years, I discover the life is the camino. Now, Judy go, no? No, Joe, no, it's here. But I have the feel, sentimientos?
Yeah, feeling.
I am in the camino with Judy. Y I don't puedo avanzar.
And I can't go forward.
You understand me? I am with Judy. Maybe when Judy is in the space decided, it's now you decided and place, no? In the Green River?
Oh, Crystal River.
Crystal River. Maybe continue it. But nunca, never la olvidaré.
¿Qué cosa?
Nunca la olvidaré.
Oh, I will never forget her.
You understand me, no? Thank you. Y maybe in the other moment, better moment, to drink one beer. Judy to beer.
Better moments.
Judy I drink beer, no? But the last year, drink beer also. And wine. Yo la pude.
You could drink wine?
Sí, yo la pude ganar y traerla a mi terreno a beber cerveza y vino.
He could beat her and take her to his land to drink.
Okay,
beer.
no smoke, but the wine and beer, yes.
No smoking. but
She wouldn't
wine.
smoke, but she would drink the wine and beer.
Okay, maybe now Douglas finished the situation, no? This moment. I think we have beer there. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Don't have a lot to say. You guys have said it all, and you've said it beautifully. I'd like to thank our musicians. Damian Smith, and Henry Whitaker. Damian and Whitaker. And Taylor Broom also. So, just to channel Judy, I'd like you guys to manja when you go out there. Go make friends with strangers. A lot of you know each other, but you might not know these guys, and you might not know Terry and Barbara, who are my best friends from yesterday that we met, that did the Camino with Judy. I guess at the end, for me, it's not the ties that bind, it's the threads. The thread that connects. And go out there at the reception, make friends with strangers, and manja. I'll see you out there.
Fare ye well, my honey. Fare you well, my only true dawn. All the birds that were singing are flown except you alone. Want to leave this broke down palace on my hands and my knees. I will roll. Make myself a bed by the waterside. In my time, I will roll. In a bed by the waterside, I will lay my head. many years ago. Mama, mama, many words I've come since I first left home. Going home by the waterside, I will rest my bones. Listen to the river sing sweet songs to rock my soul. Going to plant deep in a willow on the bank